this is just a little bit of what you missed from Jocko Underground. If you want to hear the rest of the conversation and more, go to jockounderground.com.
How do you adapt jiu-jitsu when outnumbered and in something more serious than a playground or bar fight?
Yeah. So outnumbered, what are you going to do? Well, first of all, we avoid getting in fights where we're outnumbered, and you avoid it at all freaking costs because the chances of you winning a fight while you're outnumbered is very small. Now, availability bias will tell you if you watch YouTube of boxer knocks out 3 people or whatever. Yep, you can think you're going to pull that off. You're not. You are not. You have a 1% chance of doing that, even if you're freaking skilled. You know, can you come up against 3 guys or 4 guys that are drunk or stupid or untrained? Yes, you can. Actually, I saw a meme.
Sure, meme.
I saw a meme and it said, "How I think I'm going to win a street fight," and it was like a pie chart.
Yeah.
And there was a little tiny sliver that was like 3% of the pie, and it said, you know, I train on a regular basis. And the other giant part of the pie was something along the lines of, quote, "You don't know me, bro. When I see red, I get wild, and I'm gonna get nuts, and no one's gonna be able to hold me back," or something like that. Which is still the truth, even in today's world of MMA and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, now everybody knows a little bit of MMA. So it's not like now if you're a guy that watches UFC and you think you know a little bit from watching UFC and you're going to get nuts and that's how you're going to win. Well, everyone else knows a little bit of UFC too. Everybody. So that get nuts thing, first of all, it was never real. But now just because you're going to get nuts and you have a little bit of UFC watching on TV, like it's not going to work out. So, okay. So we are going to avoid getting in strikes with a bunch of people, or getting in fights with a bunch of people. If we can avoid it, yes, jiu-jitsu is not your first option. Like, hey, I'm going to grab this guy and start to grapple with this guy while 3 other guys are hitting me in the head with beer bottles or with, you know, because he's talking about something more serious than a playground or a bar fight. Whatever they're going to hit you with or stab you, right? You're gonna not want to engage. You want to hit people and get away. You still want to get away. Your goal is still to get away. And then the next thing, is it something like a time for dirty judo or the Sykes-Fairburn, this is stuff that they taught in World War II. The commandos taught it, and it's just basically big gross motor movements to disable your opponent as quickly as possible. And theoretically, it's like, okay, that's a good theoretical thing to think about. Realistically, it's not as it's a good theory that's going to work sometimes, and it's also not going to work a bunch of the time. So, you know, for instance, a groin strike. That's something that'll come, you know, a knee to the groin or a shin kick to the groin. That's great. Can it be, you know, a shock if you're in a fight with somebody and you nail them? Sure. But guess what? It's not going to end the fight. It's actually not going to end. Well, let me rephrase that. There's a 1% chance that it ends the fight. What if you go for an eye gouge? Because that's like super hostile, right? It seems like, oh, well, once I gouge their eyes, I win the fight. It's not true. I've had people try to gouge my eyes before, and it is not an effective method for stopping someone. I did not stop. So even though those things sound like, well, I'll just do this, or remember we had a guy at Victory, got into a street fight, and the dude got crazy and bit his ear off, or bit a big chunk out of his ear, and even though the guy, our fighter, lost part of his ear, he still won the fight and could have killed the other person had he wanted to. So even biting off someone's ear, which you think is going to be this big shocking thing, it's not. It doesn't stop. Small joint manipulation. This is an interesting one. If I break your fingers, like if you and I are training and I grab one of your fingers and break it, you're going to be like, bro, we're going to stop, right? Because I just broke your finger. If I'm trying to kill you and I break your finger, you don't give a shit. You're going to keep coming. If I fish hook you, right? If I fish hook you, and we're training, well, you're going to move your head and you're going to kind of comply with my fish hook. If we're fighting to the death, you're going to bite my finger off. Here's another one. If you decide you're going to grab my hair, which I don't have any for obvious reasons. If someone grabs your hair, like that's a legit thing where they get control over you. So you got to be careful that when we don't really grab hair a lot in training. So would you grab hair in a fight? Yeah, that's a really good takedown too. Like if you've ever grabbed someone by the hair and shocked their balance, you can really take someone down quite easily just by grabbing their hair. Unless they're a good wrestler, and then all of a sudden you're almost like in a judo fight, right? You just happen to use their hair as a gi. So the idea that, hey, here's what it boils down to. If you and I are going to fight, and now we're fighting to the death, and you've trained jiu-jitsu, and I've not, you are going to destroy me. And I might scratch your eyes. I might scratch near one of your eyes for a half a second before you arm lock me, or before you choke me, or before you get them out and punch me in the head 17 times, or elbow me in the face. You might be able to get a little bit of damage on me, but your attempt to kick me in the groin, your attempt to throat punch me, all those things are going to fall short. And I'm going to this is when you train jiu-jitsu and I don't. Right. If I try and throat punch you, or I try and poke your eyes, or I try and kick you in the groin, all those things, there's a 0.001 chance that I nail the perfect groin shot, or I actually stick one of my fingers in your, I'm not going to get both my fingers in your eyes. Yeah. I might get one in. And guess what? You can still see out of the other one. And you're going to now you're going to do a double leg. You're going to take me down. You're going to kill me. So what's the deal here? Train jiu-jitsu, train boxing, train Muay Thai, train wrestling. And then if you want to start looking at some of the old school, hey, where are some vulnerable areas? That's fine. You know what they are already. You occasionally incorporate some of them? Sure. You want to, if you're training a female in some level of self-defense, should they be thinking about how they could do some of these strikes? Sure. But if you think that a female is going to give a guy a kick to the groin followed by an, what do they call that? Like a palm strike to the face, and that's going to stop a 220-pound guy? It is not going to. It is not going to. There's a much better chance that she's able to sort of pretend to be weak and allow the dude to get into a certain position before she springs a freaking triangle choke or escapes to the back and gets a rear naked or something like that. Infinitely better chance. If you think you're gonna incapacitate somebody with one strike and that's what you're counting on, you're wrong. Can it happen? Yes. Is it going to happen? Not likely. Train jiu-jitsu, train Muay Thai, train boxing, train wrestling. If you want to take a look at some old school hyper aggressive gross motor skills to incapacitate people, sure, look at them, but you cannot rely on it. You know what you can rely on? If you're hyper aggressive with one of those and someone's not expecting it, sure, it'll work. You know, like someone comes up and gets in your face and you've just freaking, you strike first fast and hard, you can get the upper hand. You can definitely get the upper hand. If they're ready to fight, then none of that shit works.
Yeah. If they're ready to fight, that's a big one. Yeah, I think sometimes jiu-jitsu gets like almost like this unfair thing where it's almost like a straw man argument and they'll do funny videos about it where it's like, oh yeah, jiu-jitsu in a street fight. Then the guy will be like, hey, you want to go? And the guy will like pull guard or something like that. Yeah. And yeah, that's not how you employ jiu-jitsu in a real life scenario.
No, jiu-jitsu, this is what I wrote about in Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. You learn to grapple because if you, Echo Charles, we're in the street and you want to fight me and you square up to me, I'm going to run away. If you try and kick me, you don't have control of me, I'm going to run away. If you try and punch me, you don't have control of me, I'm going to run away. If you square off and push me, cool. You just push me away, I'm running away. So if I'm not going to get you, I don't need to fight. I can get away from you. And I don't want to fight because I don't know where your friends are. I don't know if you have a blade in your back pocket. I don't know if you have a pistol with you. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to get sued. All these things. So my goal is to not fight. So if you try and push me, kick me, strike me, I'm going to get away from you. The minute you grab me, I don't have that option anymore. I need to earn that option. I need to grapple. I need to counter your grappling to get away from you. Hopefully I can do it while we're standing. Hopefully my wrestling and my standing jiu-jitsu and my judo is enough for me to break whatever grip you have and get away from you. That's what my goal is. And then I get away from you. Mm-hmm. If I can't do that and you get control of me, now I need to work even harder. Now you get me to the ground. What good are my strikes on the ground? They're not any good at all. I need to know jiu-jitsu. I need to know how to get up and get away from you. That's what jiu-jitsu is for in the street. So train as much as you can, keep an open mind, and avoid getting in situations like this. Because if you're outnumbered, the 99.9% chances you're about to get beat down.
Yeah, outnumbered. The best thing is to leave, for sure.
Yeah.